Okay, for this set of problems, we're going to be talking about age, and we're going to be figuring out, almost like a puzzle, the age of certain individuals. In the first example, so you can read, Gloria is 20 years older than Reggie. 5 years ago, she was 5 times as old as he was. How old is each now? Now, this might sound a little complicated, but it's actually not that bad as long as you first identify, and in the first step, I'm going to write this out for you because it's very important. Step 1, when solving a problem like this, you want to identify and chart the key times. Okay, and what I mean by the key times is what time period are they looking at here? Gloria is 20 years older than Reggie. The word is represents something that's happening in the present moment. And you can tell that because later on they ask you how much or how old is each now. Okay, so if I'm looking at this, one of the key times is going to be now or the present. Okay. Another thing that we notice is, well, it says 5 years ago. Okay. 5 years ago is, well, 5 years ago. It's in the past. Okay. So these are our two main time periods that we're talking about. So now that we've identified it, we want to put this information into a nice chart. Okay. We have two players here. We have Gloria and we have Reggie. So we're going to go ahead and put this information in a nice chart form. We have now, which is in the present, and we have 5 years ago. Okay. Well, now we don't know how old each of these people are. I don't know how old Gloria is. I'm just going to make her age G. And I don't know how old Reggie is. I'm going to make his age R. But I do know, for instance, if you're 13, 5 years ago, how old were you? I think in your mind you're just subtracting 5 from your age. We're going to do the same for Gloria. We don't know how old she was 5 years ago, but however old she is now, we're going to be taking away 5 years. Same for Reggie. We don't know how old he is now, but 5 years ago he was 5 years younger. Okay, so now what we have is sort of a key that we're going to use. Okay, and a little hint for you now, I would add in the keywords, means is. And if you're thinking about 5 years ago, well, you're looking really was for the word was, which represents the past. Okay, and Gloria in this case is the girl, so you'll see her referred to as she, and sometimes I like to write that in just so you know. And here's he in the problem as Reggie is referred to. Okay, so this information will help us translate the sentence into two equations that we can use. Let's take apart the very first sentence. Okay, Gloria is, here's Gloria is, so I'm going to use G, 20 years older than Reggie. Well, Reggie is R. Gloria is 20 years older. If I'm 20 years older than you, I would take whatever your age is, and I would add 20. So Gloria is going to take Reggie's age and add 20 to it. So for the first sentence, Gloria is 20 years older than Reggie. Gloria is 20 years older than Reggie. Taking a look at the second sentence, it reads, 5 years ago, she was. 5 years ago, she was. We're going to go into the 5 years ago column. She, what they're referring to is Gloria's age. That means we're going to use this piece of information right here. 5 years ago, Gloria was. You notice that when you say is, you use the equal sign in math. Well, was is just the past version, past tense of is. So it also represents equals. So 5 years ago, Gloria was 5 times as old as he was. Well, 5 times as old as he was. He is Reggie, was this value here, r minus 5. So I'm going to substitute that into our equation. Now, we have 2 equations and 2 unknowns, and we can solve for the age of Gloria and the age of Reggie. I'm going to write this out in a separate sheet of paper. Oh, not that yet. So your 2 equations so far, g equals r plus 20. You also have g minus 5 equals 5 times r minus 5. I know I'm going to need to distribute, so let's do that first. 5r minus 25, and I want to simplify this. If I simplify this, I can say, well, let's move all the variables to one side, and I can combine the constants. So g will be equal to 5r minus 20. Okay, so I also know that g is equal to r plus 20. These are our 2 equations. Okay. And you can use any method in order to solve for g and r. In this case, it's already solved for g and r for g. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute in, I'm going to say this piece will be substituted in for g. 5r minus 20 will be equal to r plus 20. Okay, and drawing up my wall, I want to move variables first. So 4r minus 20 will be equal to 20. I will move constants next. 4r will be equal to 40. Dividing by 4, r, which represents Reggie's age, is 10 years old. Okay, if Reggie is 10 years old, we can go back up and we can substitute in for Reggie's age. 10 plus 20. Gloria then will be 30 years old. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of information. We know that Reggie is 10 years old and Gloria is 30 years old. And that will answer the question that was asked. Okay, so again, I want to review. Make sure that you, first step, identify and chart the key times. Okay, and this will get easier as you go. So let's try a second example. In example 2, this is a story about Miguel and his grandfather. In 3 more years, Miguel's grandfather will be 6 times as old as Miguel was last year. When Miguel's present age is added to his grandfather's present age, the total is 68. How old is each one now? Again, we want to first identify the key times. So step 1, identify the key times. Well, right off the bat, I see in 3 more years. So in 3 years is one of them. Miguel's grandfather will be 6 times as old as Miguel was last year. Last year is another. When Miguel's present age, so the present is also a time, is added to grandfather's present age. We already have that, the total 68. How old is each one now? And the present is the same thing as saying now. So in this particular example, we have 3 time periods. We have in 3 years, last year, and also the present. Okay, so let's put this in a nice, neat chart that we can use as a legend. You have the present, you have last year, and you have in 3 years. Okay, so in the present there is Miguel and there is his grandfather. I'll just use M and G. Last year, well, last year, how do you know how old you are? You just take 1 away. Miguel was M minus 1. Last year, grandfather was just 1 year younger, so G minus 1. In 3 years, what we need to do here, in 3 years, you would be adding 3 years to your age. And Miguel would be doing the same thing to calculate his age. Grandpa would do the same as well. So now that we have this chart, we are going to use this in order to translate our sentence or statements. Okay. The very first sentence, it says, in 3 more years, Miguel's grandfather will be. Will be, and I want to go back to the story because will be is a very important piece. I'm going to circle will be, okay? Because that means that in 3 more years, and this is kind of hard to show all at once, but we have in 3 years, Miguel's grandfather will be this value here. So we're going to write G plus 3 6 times as old as. The will be part is here. Will be represents the equal sign. It's another way of saying is. It is the future tense of is. So he will be 6 times as old as Miguel was last year. Well, how old was Miguel last year? We're going to have to go back to our chart. Last year, Miguel was M minus 1. Okay. So we have our first equation here. Let's look at our second equation. When Miguel's present age is M, when Miguel's present age is added to his grandfather's present age, so that is added to grandfather's present age, the total is 68. Okay, so we're going to add Miguel's age and grandfather's age now, and we're going to get 68. So now we have 2 equations, systems of equations, and we can solve for our 2 unknowns. Okay, and for this particular example, let's use a little bit of substitution. Okay, but first let's simplify that first equation. And my green doesn't work so well. I'm going to switch over. I'm going to solve for Miguel's age, so I'm going to subtract grandfather's age. M will be equal to 68 minus G. Okay, so here's our first equation. Let's simplify the other equation. We have G plus 3 equals, and I know I'm going to need to distribute 6M minus 6. I'm going to move my constants over, or actually I can just substitute in G plus 3 equals 6 times 68 minus G. minus 6. 6 times 68. Okay, I'm going to distribute. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 6 is 36. Plus 4 will give me 40. So 408 minus 6g. Be careful when you write your g's and your 6's. Sometimes they end up looking very similar. Okay, so let's combine all the like terms. 408 minus 6 will be 402. And I want to move all my variables to one side, so why don't I subtract g here, subtract g here. Okay, and that means that 6g minus another g, I have minus 7g. And I'm going to subtract 402 from here, subtract 402, and that will be negative 399. Will be equal to a negative 7. I'm going to divide by 7. Divide by a negative 7, excuse me. So 7 into, well, I said 7 and I wrote 3. 399. 7 goes into 39 5 times, 35 with 49 left over, and that goes in a perfect 7 times, so 49. So g here will be equal to 57. And we said g is grandfather's age, so let's substitute in to solve for Miguel's age. Okay, well, Miguel is, like here we said, 68 minus grandfather's age. 68 minus 7 will give us 9. Okay, so Miguel here is 9 years old. Grandfather is 57. Okay, so the only thing we need to do now is go back and make sure we answer our question. Okay, Miguel is 9 and grandfather is 57 years old. Okay, and that's it. You have some problems on your worksheet to complete. Please do numbers 2 and 8 from your age worksheet for tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. I will see you then.